say, man, I don't know her. She's too quiet.
What up, though? It's your girl, She's Too Quiet, and welcome back to the She's Too Quiet podcast. She's Too Quiet is all about remembering your voice matters. Although you're quiet, people are actually interested in you. They want to know where you go and where you don't go, what you like and what you don't like. Don't be afraid to use your voice. Your voice matters. On today's episode, we're going to be doing a part 2 to Pieces of a Woman. This was a previous podcast episode about motherhood and womanhood. Today we're going to be talking about Mary. Mary is the mother of Jesus. That's the particular Mary we'll be discussing today. For those that don't know, there are many Marys in the Bible, but we're focusing on the mother of Jesus. And as I was doing my devotion, I ran across Mary and I decided to do a little deep dive into her life and her story. We all hear about Mary, but this was my first time actually diving a little deeper into her life and how everything came to be. In a book that I'm reading, I've been reading it for about 3 years off and on. It's called Dynamic Woman of the Bible by Ruth A. Tucker. What this author does is she kind of proposes different perspectives on the life of women in the Bible. So she adds a lot of possible thoughts and feelings that these characters may be thinking in different moments. And you do have to be careful because these are her opinions. So if you do read a lot of Christian books and stuff like that, you have to definitely understand that there may be moments where some of the writing is opinion based and not factual. Of course, when you're talking about how people may be thinking and feeling, no one knows what Mary felt. No one knows what Mary was thinking. All we can do is allege. Allegedly, if I'm thinking of Mary in this particular story, this is how I think she may feel, or this is what I think she would be thinking. So don't take any of it as fact. So she asks a lot of what ifs in regards to Mary's story. She starts off the chapter asking, what if Mary did not have Jesus? What if she decided this was too much for her? She was a virgin. She was about to get married to Joseph, and she didn't ask for this, okay? She did not ask for this. This was not in her plan. However, an angel came and told her that she would be with child. And the author discusses the emotions that one may feel receiving this news. And for me, I'm telling you, I would be scared. I would be like, are you kidding me? My life is about to start. I got my man and we about to get married. And you telling me I'm about to have a child and he's not mine. I mean, he's mine, but he's not my husband's. And how is my husband going to look at me? And is he going to believe that this is from God and I didn't go sleep around on him? Like, there has to be a ton of emotions, right? But for Mary, she was tapped into God. She was a believer. So she believed that if an angel of the Lord told her this would be so, it is so. And I think that's one of the things that we need to pick up on, or one of the first things about Mary that we need to pick up on, is that she was a believer and she was tapped into the Holy Spirit to where she could recognize the voice of God and she trusted the voice of God. You can't make a decision like keeping the baby that you didn't have with your husband, but the Holy Ghost gave it to you and you're deciding to have the baby. You can't say yes to those type of things without trusting and believing God. So you can tell right then that Mary, she was a soldier. In my mind, okay, just like the author. So in my mind, I'm thinking Mary is a quiet girl. Like, I feel like Mary probably stayed to herself a lot. I feel like Mary, I don't imagine Mary being like this super extroverted person, especially having to carry something so weighty like a virgin pregnancy. I don't know. I just don't take her as being very outspoken. You know what I'm saying? So Mary accepts the call that she is carrying the Son of God. And after she goes along and has the baby, someone, I think his name is, I don't remember if it's Simon or Simeon, but after Jesus' birth, he tells her a sword will pierce your soul. And a lot of things happened to Mary to where she received some sort of word about Jesus, whether it was before his birth or after his birth. She knew who Jesus was. She knew the call that he had on his life. She knew what pivotal role she had to play. And I think that's also something that helped her keep the baby. So she knew who Jesus was. But by her hearing word that a sword would pierce her soul, I can imagine her wondering when that was going to happen. Like, when is my heart going to break in regards to my son? And a lot of mothers, I feel like, have that kind of thought, especially as boys in particular. Now, girls too, but I know boys sometimes, just from my experience, they have instances in their maturity where they're hard-headed and they may run into things that, may be hard on a mother's heart. And so I can imagine Mary like, okay, a sword will pierce my soul in regards to my son. When is this going to happen? Like, when am I going to feel this piercing? Little did I know there's multiple instances to where her soul or her heart was pierced in relation to the love she has for her son. So I was listening to a podcast called the Christian Bae podcast. And in her podcast, she was talking about the story of when Jesus was missing for 3 days. He was 12 years old, went missing for 3 days, and he was in the temple. So it was Passover time, and Mary was looking for Jesus, and she couldn't find him. Her and Joseph could not find where Jesus was. Come to find out, Jesus was in the temple. He was talking to a bunch of teachers, and he was asking questions, answering questions. These teachers were shocked and surprised at the wisdom that he had. And Mary is upset. According to my book, she makes it seem like Mary is fuming. As you can imagine, you can't find your son. He's 12 years old. He got a call in his life. Where is he? Like, why did you leave me? Where did you go? I really need to make sure you're safe. Like, I'm sure she's going crazy. She finds him. She's like, why did you run away and scare me like that? And Jesus was like, why would you think I would be anywhere else but the temple? And when I was looking in the Bible, I don't see that she really said anything after he said that. Like, Mary was submissive to God when Jesus was even a little boy. So I felt like she knows who he is at his core, and she was able to submit to him even at that young age and understand that he is just, his life is guided by God. And she kind of had to be like, oh, I hear you, like, I ain't gonna lie, it seemed like he checked her a little bit. I ain't gonna hold you, Jesus. It seemed like you checked your mom. But you can imagine, though, a 12-year-old gonna talk back and be like, where'd you think I was? You know what I'm saying? But she understands his assignment, right? So he ends up going back with his family. So as a 12-year-old, he was obedient to his mom still, even though he ran off. he did, of course, go back with his mother. And in the Christian Bae podcast, she talked about how there was a switch. There was a switch in Jesus at that point because they had been going to the temple, regularly. This was not the first time that they went to the temple, but at this moment, Jesus stayed. So there was a switch that happened within him that changed. This was no usual visit. You know what I'm saying? So as Jesus grows up, there are many instances to where his mother's heart just goes out to him. Like as he's preaching and teaching and going on with his disciples and things, Mary is back realizing that the very area they grew up in, they now are seeing her son as someone evil and they don't like him and things like that. And she's really worried about him. Like, I hope you're all right out there, because you preaching the gospel, that's great and all, but at the same time, I'm worried about my son. And she goes to where Jesus is, right? And there's people telling her, there's people telling Jesus, your mother's here and your brothers are here and your family's here. And Jesus is so laser focused on his mission, and he's like, my family is whoever obeys God. Like, can you imagine his mom being like, what? Like, bruh, your mama is here. I need to talk to you, and you're not even acknowledging my presence. All you want to do is talk about God and salvation right now, and I'm worried about you because these people are trying to kill you. And again, she yielded. She did not cause a scene. She did not go grab Jesus by his ear. She understood his assignment. She let him be. And she was like, all right, do your thing. I ain't gonna hold you. You being obedient to God, and I trust God, so I'm gonna leave you in his hands. So that was another instance to where her motherly instincts tried to jump in, but the will of God was more important. Now, the last instance I want to talk about, let me talk about this too. So the first miracle with turning water into wine. They were at this wedding, and just like a mother, she goes up to Jesus and like, we out of wine. I need you to run to the store so we can have more wine. I need you to go pick it up, right? Tell me why Jesus is like, why is that my problem? He was like, why are you telling me? Like, I'm trying to enjoy the party, and you over here telling me that we out of drinks. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I can see that happening. Moms do that all the time. And this was when Jesus performed his first miracle. And it's just so crazy that he was doing the will of his Father at all times. And Mary, she was being a mother to Jesus at all times, despite knowing who he is. Although he was the Son of God, that's Jesus. That's my baby boy. I'm still gonna treat him like he's my baby boy, despite, the call in his life. And I thought that was beautiful. Like, I've seen this play out many a times, Mary. So the last thing, like I said before, a sword will pierce her soul. The resurrection. So Jesus died on the cross. Mary was there, crying, weeping. The book talks about how she may be feeling. Her son is dead. She's seeing all of this. She probably can't even talk, can't speak, just wailing, disbelief. And these are all examples of her laying down her own wants for the glory of God. And I can't imagine how she may have felt when she found out Jesus had rose. I'm like, this is heavy, because all along she always knew that Jesus was here for someone other than her. And there's different moments and instances in her life where she had to just let him grow up and let him be who God called him to be. And I know there's some mothers out there with children, and there comes a time where you just have to let God's will be done. You can't get in the way, and you have to give what God gave you back to him. And I'm just thinking like, ooh-wee, there's gonna be a time where I'm gonna have to give what God gave me back to him. There's been times in my life already where God has given me something and I've had to give it back. I just have never done that in such a guarded place, like between mother and son, like something so deep, something so close. I haven't had that experience yet, but I know that there's people that have. And all I gotta say is you are strong, because I can imagine having to go through watching someone grow up and mature and, be beat down by people and be talked down on and stuff like that, and just see them go through all of this stuff and not intervene. There's been multiple times Mary wanted to intervene, but she knows that God's glory is greater than her interference. And the flesh may cry, but the soul rejoices when you surrender the things that are near and dear to you. God ultimately gets the glory. I just want to encourage everyone out there. You may have lost something, or you may have given something up for the glory of God. Don't look at that as a curse. Look at it as a blessing, because God honors you in what you've sacrificed to him. It doesn't go unnoticed. So just be encouraged. I appreciate you all for tuning in and listening to this podcast. If you're interested in seeding into the She's Too Quiet podcast, feel free to give at the handle $ She's Too Quiet. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this podcast. Until next time, be easy, love God, love people. Deuces.